All right, welcome everyone. This is the School District of Prescott Board of Education regular meeting. I'll call this meeting to order subject to Section 1983 Wisconsin statutes. Our first item here is to adopt the agenda. Rick, is there any changes?
No specific changes from administration. There's a recommendation to pull one item out of consent.
Okay, yeah, we'll do that at that time. Let's just pull it out when we go through consent.
Okay.
Okay, so no changes to the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda as is.
Second.
That's a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries. Item 3 is Pledge of Allegiance. Ellen, would you care to lead us?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next item is recognition of visitors. Rules for public comment are as follows. Please approach the podium one at a time, stating your name, municipality, and topic you would like to address. A lot of time is 3 minutes per individual, or 6 if you are representing a group. Comments should be directed to the board and not to other staff or participants. The board will not act on any comments that are made during the meeting. The presiding officer may direct the district admin to follow up with that individual at a later date. And lastly, the public comment section will be limited to 30 minutes unless board action is taken to extend. And please refer to our public comment policy listed on the agenda for a full description. Anybody care to be recognized at this time?
Tracy Collins, New Adventures Learning Center. I have 3 kids in the district, and I'm here representing a group. This is
Julie Albrado. I got 2 kids, no, a 6th grader and a 2-year-old, so I will have 2 kids in the district.
I'm here representing the 3 licensed child care providers today that are affected by the lack of in-town busing. That would be New Adventures Learning Center and a TULIP certified family provider, and Renee Rowe from Starts with Love Family Child Care Center. With the loss of busing in town, it is going to greatly affect all of our businesses. I have spoken with both family providers and know the situation at our center. We have families in limbo wondering what they should do for the next school year. There are families questioning whether they should keep 4K students signed up due to the lack of busing. There are families wondering if they need to withdraw from New Adventures to figure out alternative care for their children for the school year. This is not a decision that can wait until August for families or our centers to be informed. I know that some board members have received communication from these providers. I know I have reached out, and the district is aware of the situation. What I don't know is what to tell my families and the questions that are questioning whether they have care in the fall. New Adventures currently has 38 school-aged children enrolled in our center for before and or after school care. We are in the process of an expansion that we are hoping will be open for next fall, which will allow us to increase our student school-age program to a capacity of 72 students. Without busing to our facility, we will not be able to sustain our school-age program throughout the school year. I have investigated the cost of contracting transportation for our children, and it is out of reach for our center. We would be forced to charge parents tuition in an amount that would put the program out of business. In the interest of good community partnership, I would ask that you continue to bus to in-town licensed centers so that all of our families and communities can still choose the best place for their children and to be cared for outside of the school hours. I would also ask that we get this information to facilities and families as soon as possible. We cannot wait until August to know if we will be able to provide before and after school care for families. Early education teachers often get a bad rap as babysitters are not truly important for more than a place to take your child while you're at work. And I can guarantee you that that is not the case, and early educators have had a hand in the success of the students in our district. I hope as a district we value the work that these providers do, and we want our community to have the options on where they can send their children for care outside of school hours. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. And Rick, I think if you don't mind, just follow up with Tracy after at a time that works for you.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else care to be recognized? Okay. We're going to move on. Next item is good news around the district.
Yes, and we're going to start with our spring sports. Andrew, did you want to introduce each of them, or do we want to start there kind of know the order, but basically we're gonna, we had incredible participation and run. So we have our boys baseball team, Coach Jeff Ryan, softball Nick Johnson, boys and girls track, the Calabrese Powerhouse, and boys golf Scott Hamilton.
Yeah, so first we'll have Jeff Ryan come up, represent Prescott baseball.
Good evening. Hopefully you can hear me. First of all, I want to congratulate all the spring athletes and all the sports. The accomplishments of the track teams, the softball, and the golf teams were fantastic. So I just want to first congratulate them, the participants, and the coaches for a great season. Baseball team, we were successful. I should say the kids were successful. C team finished 10-3, JV team finished 13-5, and the varsity team finished 19-6. So we had a success. We were successful at all three levels. Finished second in the conference. We were ranked in the top 20 all year. I thought, challenging for the conference championship was something that we set out to do at the beginning of the year, and unfortunately, we didn't win our last game of the year. There's a coach and a team that did win their last game from Prescott, and that's very, very tough to do. So we thought the season ended a little bit prematurely, but again, I was very, very proud of the season that the boys had. Great assistant coaches, again, Dwayne Miller and Brad Matzik, who've been coaching with me for over 2 decades. That's very rare today to have such loyal assistant coaches. We had 6 players get recognition, receive some form of all-conference or all-district. One person in particular, Cullen Hoopert, was named honorable mention all-state, first team all-district, and also the District 2 Player of the Year by the Wisconsin Baseball Coaches Association. Got a lot of players back, and once again, I was very, very proud of the kids, and was proud of the fact that they, once again, were great ambassadors for our community. So, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Next we'll do track and field, so Emily Calabrese and Carl Calabrese, and a few students that will join them as well.
Thank you for having us tonight. We brought Kira Dix and Ethan West to help tell our story of the season.
So this year we had 84 athletes on the high school level and 78 at the middle school level.
Throughout the season, 13 school records were broken by a total of 17 athletes. On the boys' side, we broke records in the 55-meter dash, 55-meter hurdles, 4x1, 4x2 pole vault, and both shuttle relays.
On the girls' side, we broke school records in the 55-meter dash, 400-meter dash, discus, 4x4, low shuttle hurdles, and the sprint medley.
And then a little bit about our postseason run. The track and field team had 21 athletes named to the all-conference team at the Middle Border Conference meet, and both teams placed third as a team. We went on to send 17 athletes for individual events and 4 relays to the state meet in lacrosse, where Sophie Ripley was the highest placing Prescott athlete, placing 6th in the 400-meter dash and earning a spot on the podium.
We had 6 first place finishes throughout the year as a team and set 310 personal records, and that does not include people who set their personal records multiple times. That's just 310 improvements throughout the year. And that's that.
One thing we really prided ourselves on this year was being respectful of visitors and making sure to thank the meet hosts and workers with thank you cards and kind words after every competition. I remember my first varsity indoor competition. Emily pulled me over to the side and I thought I was gonna get in trouble, like I ran wrong or something like that. But no, she pulled me and Dylan Eliason over and we got to hand out all the cards to the people that were working there.
Overall, we had a very successful season in 2024. and we look forward to continuing to grow together as a team and representing Prescott in the best way we can at every level of competition. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done, guys.
Next up, we'll have Scott Hamilton representing boys golf.
I too would like to start off just by congratulating the whole spring season teams. It was a wonderful season to kind of just watch from the sides too. So overall, we had 16 boys in the golf team this year, which is up quite a bit from the last few years after COVID kind of hurt our program a little bit. So it was good to see those numbers coming back up. We had, let's see here, we all kind of increased our schedule a little bit. We went from about 8 to 9 events to up to our full 15 events. So that was good. We challenged the kids. We went down to Reedsburg, which was fun to get into kind of overnight, just to kind of get that, what it is to get into a full postseason kind of run kind of feel, which was good for all the kids to do. We ended up with 2 all-conference kids, and Sam Vesterman and Tyler Ryder. Tyler Ryder was the overall conference champion as well, so player of the year in the Middle Border Conference. Which was great. We won the Whitetail Invitational this year. Overall, we won the first time ever in school history was the actual conference tournament. We won that event. So that was kind of fun and really exciting, which got us to an overall second place in the conference behind Amory, who went to state. So, it was a very competitive conference this year, which was awesome. We went and finished 1 stroke away from the state tournament at our sectional meet. Which was a little heartbreaking, but also kind of gets us a little more ready for next year and a little more hungry. Tyler Ryder did qualify. He won the sectional and finished 16th overall at state out of 52 golfers, so he represented our district very, very well. They would have been here tonight, but they are over golfing in Madison or in Milwaukee right now, so they couldn't make it. But overall, so it was kind of like we said, hopefully just keep these numbers up and keep going next year, and with everyone coming back who has varsity experience now, it's going to be, hopefully a really good year next year as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Last but not least, we'll have softball, Nick Johnson and Megan Richter.
All right, again, congrats to all the spring sports. Whoa. We had 22 girls out this year, which was our lowest numbers we've had in a while, which is unfortunate, but I think those numbers are going to pop back up in the next couple of years with our 7th and 8th grade classes, so there's positives there. We were 21-8. We went 12-2 in our conference, the varsity. Everything was not perfect for us throughout the season, and I think all of our ups and downs throughout the year led us to our final goal, to win the gold ball. And I think Megan would tell you too that, again, we got kicked throughout the season, and we played a challenging schedule. I'd argue the toughest schedule in Division III softball, without a doubt. Our conference is loaded softball-wise. Our non-conference was loaded. But it all got us ready for our playoff run. We lost 4 of our last 6 going into playoffs, and we kind of came together as a team, and we said, this is not going to define our season. This is not how we're going to end our season. And when the playoffs started, we just kicked it to another notch. And the rest is kind of history. We win 6 straight games. Our playoff run was incredible. We outscored teams 39-4. Ella Stewart, our pitcher, was a first-team All-State pitcher. Her numbers, 39 innings, 3 earned runs, and had 55 strikeouts. Just unheard of numbers. But it was definitely a team effort. Our defense, we only had 4 errors in 6 games in the playoffs. And it just was an incredible season, an incredible run that these girls put on. One of the most special seasons I've ever been a part of, and not just because the girls won the gold ball, but just what we overcame throughout the year. We get to the playoffs, we get to state championship, we have to knock off the defending champs, we do that, and then we beat Laconia in the playoffs, or in the state championship to get the gold ball. But the state championship game was kind of a defining moment of our season. We had to go a 77-minute rain delay in the state championship game, which all of our spring sports will echo this. That's kind of what our season was. Rain delay, game canceled. Rain delay, game canceled. So I thought it made our girls comfortable in the state championship game. Like, what, we've been here. We've been doing this now for 2 months. And we got prepared in that rain delay. We came out, we scored those 2 runs in the bottom of 4, and again, the rest is history. Megan here has had an unbelievable career. She's an unbelievable kid. She's been everything a coach could ask for in a person and as an athlete. You always talk about the seniors, you know, that first senior group that you get to coach for 4 seasons. She's part of that. I've been here for 4 years, so she's always going to have a special place in my heart. Her and Ella, who couldn't make it here, she's practicing already to get ready for college ball. But Megan, the regional final game, she had a monster hit to help us propel that win. And then the state semi game was arguably, if not the biggest hit in Prescott softball history. So Megan's been incredible for us. That's why we asked her to be here, because she represents everything Prescott softball is. Just a couple things. All conference, we had 4 all-conference players. We had 2 all-district players, and we had 2 all-state players with Leah French and Ella Stewart. So an unbelievable season. We have 17 girls on varsity right now. We return 15 varsity players next season. So we feel very strong that we can go make a run at defending the gold ball. We got some things to work on, a couple big spots to fill, but we'll be ready. These girls work extremely hard, and I think that winning the gold ball, they're not going to be satisfied with. They're already talking about next season. So Megan, Coach Johnson, that's what we got. So thanks, everybody.
So we had such a great spring, thanks to all these coaches, that we were able to leapfrog Baldwin, Woodville, and St. Croix Central, win the Middle Border Cup. Again, for the second time in 3 years as the best performing department in the Middle Border Conference. So that cup will reside in Prescott High School for a year, and the programs will go and defend that next year. So that's it for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you to all the coaches and to the students. Well done. I have 4 updates. I just wanted to acknowledge that today is Juneteenth, the celebration. It is the 4th year that the nation has celebrated that. It goes back to 2009 being celebrated in the state of Wisconsin. We did have 2 anonymous gifts, one anonymous gift of $10,000 that I wanted to share with the board. $5,000 is going to high school choir and $5,000 to our high school theater program. I want to acknowledge that and thank the individual. The music choir also received an $800 grant or gift from the Everwood Farm Stand Foundation on behalf of Ms. Camrath, right? Thanks, Josh, for nodding. And then one of the times that we get to celebrate is a national night out. It is going to be in partnership with our city and SRO. There will be events, activities, food, and it's the National Night Out Tuesday, August 6th from 4 to 7. I'm going to ask every board member to invite some individuals from every township, and we'll ask a lot of people from Oak Grove to come over and enjoy a night out and celebrate with the Prescott Public Schools.
All right, thanks, Rick. And congratulations on all the great spring seasons by all the programs. It's been a really fun spring to watch Prescott sports. We'll move on to school business. Our first item here is to adopt the consent. And in the consent, we have the May 15th regular board meeting minutes, finance report. We have personnel report of hires, resignations, and retirements for non-licensed staff. The elementary school, intermediate school, high school, and middle school ALICE training drills. The nursing annual report, the nutritional services annual report, and the girls golf overnight trips. That's a mouthful. Anything the board would like to pull out from consent? Do we want to pull out?
Yeah, we had a recommendation. I think that we should pull out 3-2A. From resignations.
The resignations?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's Andrews?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to make a note of that. We're pulling out resignations, Andrew Caudill. And we'll table that for right after this, or where do we put that right after this?
Put it into business.
Actually, yeah, business, item B, resignations, okay. Yep. Anything else? Okay, I will adopt the consent agenda as presented. Are there any objections? No objections. Consent agenda has been adopted with that one modification. Thank you. Item B is consider personnel reports for licensed staff. First, we'll do the hires.
Yes. So we have 2 hires. We have an elementary cross-categorical special education teacher, Cassandra Webb, with multiple years of experience, and a 7th grade math teacher, Sarah, and is it? Gillis. Gillis. Thank you, Kyle. Happy to welcome them to the Prescott School District. We did have 3 resignations. First, Tanya Moravik, who is a special education aide, Tanya Sponholtz, English Language Arts at the high school, and Kim Reich, Malone, general ed aide.
Any comments from the board? And also, we pulled out Andrew, so he's in there as well, right? So
yes, so we should be also acknowledging that we received earlier this week, yesterday, Andrew Caudill, who is accepting a position with another district.
All right, any comments here from the board? Pat, I'll just start with you if you have anything that you want to comment on, or?
No, I think it was important to pull Mr. Caudill out, recognize both for information, but also recognize some of the great work that's been done. Thank you for that. Thank you to the others, folks who certainly put a lot of work in, into the district, and welcome to the new hires that we have.
Tanya?
Yeah, just Andrew, I was sad to see your name on that list, and we didn't have a chance to pull it out and have it further discussion on or anything. So we just really want to thank you for all that you've done for our athletics. I think everybody can see some of the great work you've done, from just kind of getting our name out there, from really good runs, and we've had the cup 2 times, in the past handful of years. Just when I hear from coaches about the work that you do for the teams to get the really good meets, the really good games, all that kind of stuff is just amazing. And I also just want to acknowledge that you are literally at every single event. It is hard to go anywhere athletic without having you there, and it's awesome. You've done a really good job representing Prescott, so thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have anything else to add, but yeah, you've jump-started a lot of initiatives. You've gotten a lot of extra little things here and there added that have made a big difference, and some things like the scoreboards don't go unnoticed and get commented on all the time from visiting teams. So yeah, that's been great to have you bring those things forward. So thank you.
I think everything's been said. I am sad to see some of those resignations. I think they make a really big difference in children's lives. That they've made a really big difference in my kids' lives. So they'll be missed. So we appreciate everything you do.
Hey, Mike wanted to, maybe go ahead.
Yeah.
I'll follow up then.
Sure. Andrew, it felt like a gut punch to me when I heard the news this week. So I'm still processing it. I wanted to call it out that, you've been here for 3 years, and just the transformation that we've seen in so much, not just the success of the programs. A lot of that is with the coaches, but the fundraising, the structure that has been added to all the programs. It doesn't go unnoticed from our perspective or the coaches and parents' perspective. You've done a lot to get us to another level from a program's perspective, and I think all the coaches here would agree with me on that. Man, it's tough. Congratulations, I guess, and good luck in your next position here. But I just know that you're going to leave a giant hole that we got to fill quickly, and we're happy for you, and thank you for everything you've done. Anything else, Pat?
Yeah, maybe quick segue. I know this is brand new, so I hope I'm not putting anybody on the spot. Has there been a thought yet as to when it'll be posted, what will be posted, how it'll be posted, this position. I know we've had, through Prescott, it's been handled a couple different ways, and I don't know if any thought has been.
Yeah, a lot of thought, although very short timeline.
Sure.
I'll be working with Mr. Figge and Rick Montreal at the high school. Obviously, we had agreed that when positions went vacant, that there would be a review, and first we have to verify that it's a position that requires to be filled. I think, Andrew, as you can hear the comments, we know that it's critical. It's a critical position. I'm giving Mr. Figge and Mr. Montreal some time to work through. I would think by early next week it'd be something that would be posted. We want to verify how that will play and what would be, how it will be designed. I can share that it is highly unlikely that one of the things that we did 3 years ago was that we separated it out from an AP or a dean position in addition to the activities director, because it just did not work, and I didn't think it was fair to the individual to have to be reporting at 7 a.m. and work till 8 p.m. Both for the individual, I think we burn them out, also for their family life. So it is something that we'll be putting together and posting early next week.
Thanks.
All right, any other comments? We can entertain a motion here.
I move to approve the personnel report for the licensed staff and additional from consent agenda that was listed above.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? That carries. All right, thank you. Next item is community education and a year review.
I'm going to have Penny Peterson come forward. Earlier in consent, we did a number of year-end reports. I want to thank each of our supervisors and leads for each of the departments for kind of working on getting information back to the board on the things that they've done. You've had access to this report, but I thought it would also be helpful to have Penny up front to kind of highlight some of the things that are showing up on screen. So welcome, Penny.
Hello. Kind of hard to read on the screen, sorry, audience. But I think all of you guys have a paper copy. Basically, starting out for, oh there, thank you. For the year end, people think of classes and trips. And so this year we offered just over 225 different classes and trips for all ages, youth, adults, and then trips tours. We had a total of 1326 participants. That could be multiple, I mean, somebody might have signed up for 4 things, so that's not individual people, but individual signups. So under our class and trips, we work with other groups or kind of house them within community ed. They have their own, I work with somebody to kind of coordinate those. So we have the Little Art Colony, which is meets at the UCC Church in Town, and that's for adults. We have the Prescott Chess Club, which currently is just youth, but it's for all ages if they want to participate. We have the Ski Club, which you'll know about. Destination Imagination falls under community ed, and we have Prescott Pickleball. So aside from classes and trips, kind of the main thing of community ed is building community. We do that through classes and trips. It's kind of like a high school, you know, learning comes first, but how you want to build a community. So you have homecoming, you have all these activities, clubs, and so community ed's the same way. So our job is to build community, so majority of that is done through classes and trips. But we also do opportunities to learn and grow, like our community conversations where we have speakers come in on different topics, bike rodeo, teaching kids about safety when they're riding, hosting fun events like our trunk or treat, the things that we do with the public library, the carving contest, the Peeps Diorama, gingerbread house contests. This year we hosted 2 puzzle tournaments, and then just bringing people together through like our day of service, which is our volunteer event. Candy bingo was new this year, and then our annual after-school carving, pumpkin carving that we do with the high school kids come down and carve with the elementary kids, which is always very popular. So aside from the classes and trips, we had over 600 people come to those events, just listed there. And that does not include the parents at Trunk or Treat. So we had roughly 300 kids come. So I have no idea how many parents came. So it's easy to count the candy. So the agencies that we partnered with are listed there. So those are all groups that I work with. And then additional organizations that we have are, I'm liaison to the Senior Gathering Place, and they had, in 2023, they had 1,700 visits of different people coming in for their games, their potlucks, their speakers. They're really active, so it's fun to see that group growing. We have the Building an All-Inclusive Community, which falls under Community Ed, and they're the ones that have been doing some of the community conversations, just trying to build an all-inclusive community. So they have monthly meetings and they host different activities. And then Memory Cafe, which we host with the county, and that is for caregivers and those with dementia. They come twice a month and we do programming for them. So that's a quick nutshell of everything Community Ed. So, don't know if you have questions.
Anybody have any questions or comments? Pat?
Maybe just a quick one. I appreciate all the numbers. It's neat to see the participation. How and I don't have the notes from last year when we did this, but how have the numbers gone from year to year? Are we up, down?
Well, we're definitely up since COVID, because we were pretty much non-existent during COVID. So it's been nice to see. I'd say the thing that didn't bounce back yet after COVID, which surprised me, is the after-school classes, like our Mad Science, our after-school art. We've had some art classes run, but the rest of it hasn't come back yet. And that was kind of one of our bigger programmings going into COVID. But we have more people taking trips now than we did pre-COVID. I mean, that's really bounced the other direction. And so I'd say our adult classes are probably back to maybe where they were pre-COVID. And then anything sports related, it's Prescott. So anything we can throw out that's sports related always goes for the kids. So that's about the same.
Cool, thanks.
Helen or Vicki, anything over?
Well, I just wanted to thank Penny, also Mr. Igo, who provides direct supervision. You can see by this is just a snapshot of all the things, but it's quite extensive from early childhood to many different organizations, so really appreciate it. Also, as you look at your monthly reports, it's Fund 82 for Community Ed, and Penny has run that extremely well over the last 3 years. It's improved coming out of COVID, and we've had more participants, and we are ending up in the black. So thank you very much, and congrats.
Thanks, Penny.
Thanks, Penny. All right, we can make a motion here.
I move to accept the community education end-of-year report.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Thank you. Item D is athletic handbook code revisions for the next year.
So one of your last presentations, but Andrew, this has been something that I know that you've worked extremely hard on with regards to just getting these in, but also trying to make adjustments over the last 3 years that benefits both sending a message to students about what's in bounds and what's out of bounds, but also making sure that the consequences aren't so drastic that it allows students to kind of maybe disengage. And so with this, we did have an update on this last month, and I'll turn it over to Andrew.
Yeah, so
Nick broke it.
All right. So last month I went over this with you. It is the exact same, except there was one minor adjustment made in the NIL piece of this, which is under definitions, amateur status. I made a note that that statement was only going to be applicable to any action taken by the WIAA. That was put in there because if a state court or legislature takes action on this, we can't say that it's on hold until the board takes action, because those entities do overrule our activities code immediately, whereas the WIA can allow NIL, but Prescott School District does not have to allow it. So that's the difference. So we made that note that the WIA does take action to approve NIL at some point. The board would then have to take action to allow it, which gives time to put in any regulations in the activities code to regulate it, to ensure rules aren't broken. So that's why that was added. That was a comment made in the last meeting. Everything else in here is the exact same from the last meeting. So I'm happy to go through it, answer any additional questions. It just kind of depends how you guys would like to do this.
Let's go around here. Vicki, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
Helen?
No.
Tanya?
I don't have any questions, nope.
Pat?
No questions.
I don't have any questions either. The modification about the WIA approving NIL makes sense. So I think it looks pretty straightforward, Andrew.
Perfect. Thank you, and again, thank you, everybody, for a great 3 years. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we can entertain a motion here.
I move to approve the athletic handbook code revisions for the 24-25 school year.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That one carries. Next is accept the one-year extension of Health Partners contract.
Yes, so we are entering, starting July 1st, we are in the last year of a 3-year contract. Board had directed me to try to extend an additional year. As you know, the upcoming year, our health premiums will stay nearly zero, about a 0.5% decrease. We did negotiate with them. They are willing, and as you've been informed and kind of educated by Sean Fitzgerald and our broker and things like that, there's not many health care providers that will provide a cap. And so one of the things that as we kind of navigate the future finances of our district that are somewhat unknown, we thought it would be wise to make sure that we put in a cap. We did come back with a 12% cap. If you kind of think about it over 2 years, if that is the worst case scenario, what I can tell you is every time we've worked with Health Partners with a cap, they've always renewed at the lower end of that cap. But in a worst case scenario, given that this would extend it into the 25-26 school year, it would be like a 6% increase over 2 years. Know that kind of the national average or within the state, it's been about a 15% increase for healthcare. So I thought having a cap would be wise and allow you some, and for our employees, continuity. One of the biggest things that creates disruption in families is not knowing who your care provider will be. So this is an extension. We do have to approve it prior to July 1st, and therefore it is before you to accept that 1-year extension into the 25-26 school year at a 12% cap.
Helen, you got any questions? Vicki?
No, I don't have any questions. I just think that taking the little bit of decrease we did for this upcoming school year and then having a cap set for 25-26 at least gives us that time to figure it out, so.
All right. Tanya?
Not really any questions. I just wanted to comment that we had met on this. It was a contract discussion, so we talked with our I don't know, Sean's kind of our advisor, negotiator with that stuff. And we asked him to kind of go back, continue to have some more conversations, ask for that cap. And so we feel really comfortable at least having a cap. And we did look at our numbers. I just wanted to reiterate that we have never been charged our cap in the past. Not that it couldn't happen, but it just gives us a little bit of a safety net, and from a district perspective helps us with budgeting. So we know at most here's where we're going to be, and that helps us build that budget. So I think that does the same for families at home too. So thank you.
No, Tanya said it very well. Appreciate the information from Dr. Spikuza and also from Sean. And historically, this makes a lot of sense for our families in the district. So.
All right, Rick, just really quick, just the coverage that our teachers and staff have, it's not changing. Nothing changes. The deductibles stay the same, the coverage stays the same, the providers all stay the same, right?
100%.
100%. So I wanted to call that out, and as you mentioned, kind of very subtly, but it's very important. It's slightly dropped for next year, which is really amazing. I can't remember the last time I've seen health insurance drop in a year. So that was very big for us as we kind of plan a tough year ahead of us for the budget. And then obviously having that cap in place, that's nothing new. We've done that in the past, and it's a nice safety net for budget planning. So. All right, that's all I had. Rick, did you have anything else?
Nope, that's it. We just have to accept.
Yep. Anybody want to make the motion here?
Real quick though, the effective dates of the new contract is going to be the 25 and 26 school year.
Yeah, I did call them about this, but it's because it's extending the contract that starts July 1, 24, so that's why the dates.
Okay.
But the 12% cap will be on the 25, 26.
Yep.
Right.
Okay. Yep. I move to accept the multi-year Health Partners contract.
I'll second.
Oh, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. I spaced out for half a second there. We're on information discussion. That's business. So it's update on teaching and learning and a year review here.
Yes. So we're going to have Michael Kozmowski come up. We shared with you that we were going to make this a standing item throughout the summer and then periodically more often because, as you know, academics is our primary job role, and we wanted to make sure that we were giving you information when a lot of things are changing within the state.
All right, thank you for having me aboard to give you a little update on teaching and learning. Make sure my clicker is sync, but here we go. So just a brief overview of kind of where we've been over the last several years, especially coming post-COVID. But oftentimes when we meet as an admin team, we talk about the complex system that we live in. There's all these different nodes and pockets, and they all interact with each other. Unlike in some organizations, you have clock-like organizations where you can very specific work, you delegate it, you can refine it. Ours is changing all the time. There's hundreds of moving parts. There's thousands of decisions that are being made daily. The only thing constant is change. And just, again, playing off of those interdisciplinary problems and conflicts that are going to happen, and then how do we keep moving the organization forward. A lot of times we talk about our complex system and how we have these random acts of improvement. And those random acts, Dr. Spikuza oftentimes says it's got to be the right idea, the right people, the right time. And if you don't have all three of those, you're going to have these random acts of improvement where you're going to see a peak and then a valley that follows it. So how do we remove some of those and give ourselves permission to take some things off the plate because now just isn't the right time? And how do we make sure that we have all that in alignment with each other across an organization that is 4 different buildings and 120 plus licensed staff and things like that. When we talk about teaching and learning itself, that's a very complex model within itself. And this is, again, one of many models that we work within. The teaching and learning, again, the big thing there at the very center is that teacher behavior impacts student behavior, which then impacts student achievement. So how do we have everything focus on the things that we can control? Our behavior, the way that we interact with students, and how do we set them up for success? So where are our influence points? Where can we, again, align some of these random acts of improvement? So one of the deep dives that we've taken is, again, this idea that we're going to be the best at getting better. We're going to have continuous improvement, short cycles of improvement through a plan, do, study, act model, which then becomes a new standard of the way we operate, and we keep moving forward. That actually started way back 2015, 2016, with that baton pass from Nikki Benson to myself in the teaching and learning role. We went to some conferences about being better at PLCing, because we had done PLCs for a while, but we really weren't PLC. And one of the things that came out of there from a conversation with Anthony Muhammad was, what school did you attend? What school are you at? What school do you want to be? It was a very short conversation, but it's something that really stuck with the PLC leaders. And over the years, we've surveyed our staff of where do we believe we are, where did we come from, and where do we want to go to? And it's pretty evident that we want to get to a school and a district where there's guaranteed viable learning for all of our students, and they're reaching their maximum potential. That's where we want to teach. That's where we want our children, our grandchildren to attend school. But most of us did not attend that school. Most of us attended a school where it depended upon your ability. Your ability really led to what your outcome was. Or we're at a school, and that's the one where we indicate is that you have to take advantages of those opportunities put in front of you. Versus, are we really allowing students to opt out versus buying in? And how are we, again, I often say this, there's the phrase, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And I keep saying, yeah, but you can put out salt licks along the way. So what are the salt licks that we have for our students, for our staff, on this journey of continuous improvement? And some of you board members as parents have lived through some of those changes. I can think of middle school math. When we switched to illustrative math, that was a big change in our model. And now that we've changed to that model, really 3-8, a lot of teachers say they could never go back to the way that we used to teach. So just what are some of those advantages? As we look at our spectrum of teaching and learning, we talk about these different schools of thought, and then sort of how do we interact, how do students interact, how do the staff interact with the students, but then also with the curriculum itself. And sort of that continuum from school A to school D. Is it the teacher really taking that information, the curriculum, and then determining everything about it? How do students engage with it? How do they provide us feedback? How do they learn their way through it? Or is it really to school D on the right-hand side there, where it looks like chaos, but there's all this interconnectivity between the students, the curriculum, the teacher, and what's at the center is student learning. So as we looked at that as a PLC leadership and district leadership team, we started to define our Everest. And our Everest comes from this idea that if you ask the Sir Edmund Hillary, who climbed Everest, the year before he climbed Everest, what are you doing? What are you working on? He knew he was working on climbing Everest. That's what he told everyone. You talk to our 120 licensed staff, what are you working on? You're probably going to get 150 different answers, right? So again, how can we be the best at getting better? Is that disciplined pursuit of less. But less but better. So what are those opportunities that we have? When we talk to our staff, we talked about what does School D look like, sound like, and feel like, both for the students and for the teachers. And how do we move to this visible learning model where anyone who walks past the classroom or engages in the classroom can see the learning happening. It's not passive. You don't wait to that pop quiz or the end of the day bell checker to know, are the students with you? You can hear it in the way that they're talking, collaborating with each other, the questions they're asking. So we've really worked on refining and defining what is School D, and then how do we move towards that. part of that conversation that came out of that is if we're truly believe as a district that we can move to this model where student learning is at the center, we have to change the way we operate. The way we operate built the system that we have. If we want a different system, we have to have a different mode or different way of operating. And that's why over the last several years we've been working on and we've made it part of the way that Prescott School District operates is through a collaboration Monday schedule. And that allows us across the district, different departments, to be able to meet, to collaborate, to work interdependently with each other on all those big things that move us towards School D. Here's just an example, a snippet of the elementary and intermediate schedule and what does it look like based on the different Monday of the month, A through D. We have 2 different time slots and then the different groups. So it's sort of a big checkerboard here of who's meeting, when are they meeting. Behind every one of these meetings there are agendas. They're led by our PLC leadership team, but everyone on the team really is a contributing member. And we're actually trying to change some of that vocabulary. We did a big study this year, and we'll continue next year with our PLC leaders about how do they switch from being that leader, the person that everyone looks to set the agenda, to have the answers, to being the activator. And how are they activating the learning of the adults that are in the room? For a long time, we have left adults and adult learning out of the conversation. We've talked a lot about student learning and how do we change student behavior, but we can't do that if we don't change our own behavior. So that's part of our big refinement that we're going into. Throughout this, though, there have been a few things that have come out that are sort of leading edge emerging teaching practices. One, the building thinking classrooms. So building thinking classrooms, and I'll show you on the next page, it's a model of 14 different things that get kids to think in class. All the research done on this was watching kids and how long did they interact with the curriculum, how long did they interact with each other, what type of questions were they asking, really how was their learning visible. This year, this summer, I'm happy to represent and take a building group of representatives to a training on building thinking classrooms. We're actually going to Arizona beginning part of July here, so we're looking forward to that 120-degree dry heat for a 2-day conference down in Arizona. So math is sort of on the leading edge of this, but we're really looking at wrapping in all of our departments because we see areas where it may not fit for all areas, but there are areas for all. And then the other one really is that science of reading and that move from balanced literacy to structured literacy. And yes, the state has forced districts' hands on some of this, but really it's a lot of good things. I would say 85% of the things they want we're already doing. It's just that refinement part, which with some of the mandates that they've had, as you guys know, and I'll talk about briefly here, is it's going to cost districts, right? They like to say that they're funding this. You can use different funding streams, but really you're just shifting it around. It is more with less, but we believe we have a structure in place that will allow for that with minimal disruption.
Okay, pause, go back one. Michael, because what I wanted to share with you is because we've talked historically about what is School D. We're kind of starting to use the term, it's our desired destination. And what are the structures that we have in place? You know, as a board, as you build calendars every year, teaching and learning comes forward in December. We talk about making sure that we have specific days, typically one per month, where staff are able to come forward and meet together. We also have the early release, but it's for Collaboration Monday. And now what we're going to be talking about throughout the year is giving you updates about early literacy. So our goal is to continue to use the podium and the school board meetings to update our community and our parents so that they understand what's happening around early literacy and some of the shifts that'll be taking place, as well as the thinking classroom. And I want to just commend the administrative team. Met early in June and had a 2-day retreat, and we really have solidified that that also will be a continuous message so that we continue to try to make sure that there's a hook for everything that we're talking about from a curricular and interaction. Given that, and given that as a board you've asked a little bit about what School D is, how we're going to get there, I just wanted to see Michael Wire at that place if anybody from the board had questions about these two models and how we're going to try to continue to use them as your bookmarks that we come back to throughout the year.
Do you guys have any questions for Michael right now?
Yeah, I do quick. I would love at some point, so we kind of always think about, how do we measure things, right? And you guys got a goal, and certainly, I'll call them the numbers, right? The test scores in our report card, our state report card, certainly is a leading indicator of things are working, right? But that graph that you showed earlier, a couple slides ago about, where did we go to school, where do we work at, where do we want to be? That was from 2017-2019. I would love to see a survey of that pretty soon, right? I mean, so as this evolves, how do we measure, right? Are we getting closer? Is that orange bar coming down, and are we moving more to a green bar in terms of where do we work at? I think that'd be great. And then also, whether it's now or in the future, right? You talked about less is more. We're going to do less, but we're going to do it better. It'd be fantastic, maybe to what are the less things that we're going to do really well. And I don't know if you're going to go here or not. So maybe in the future, I'd be very curious just to see where that's headed.
Yep. Thanks.
All right. Let's get ahead here. A little too far. All right, so just a little bit about building thinking classrooms, and this is a visual. This doesn't have all 14 of the different practices, but some of the leading edge practices that we've already started to adopt and use over the course of the year at all the different grade levels. Visibly randomizing the group. So instead of having, pick your partner, pick the group you're going to work with. We've all been in that group with that kid. Right? But actually visibly randomizing it in front of the kids so they can see that this isn't a preconceived, I'm putting the really good kids with the really low kids because they can pull them up, right? We got to be able to work with everyone. And when I was in the classroom, I always did labs, and that was the big thing is you don't have to love your partner, but you got to be able to work with your partner. And that's, again, some of those soft skills get taught through that. But that's a big one, a pretty simple one that everyone can cling on to. Some other ones that we've been working at and working towards, vertical erasable whiteboarding. So there's a lot of research if you think about the model of school, probably when most of us went to school was you took your notes in your notebook, right? If you did a little warm-up, you did it in the notebook. If you did examples, they were in the notebook. If you did your homework, it was in the notebook. So you bring the same energy, the same mindset to every different activity you're doing, and you need a different mindset from when you're activating the learning to when you're doing the gradual release model or when you're working on homework. So vertical whiteboarding, the thing about that is that when a kid makes a mistake, when you erase it on the whiteboard, it's gone. Whereas when you do it on a piece of paper, and some kids will erase until they rip the sheet of paper, you can never get rid of it. It's always looking at you. So just that part of, we talk about growth mindset and we talk about perseverance, and this is a leading indicator that this is a practice that actually works, where kids do it vertically and not horizontally. That actually was researched, but vertically is the way to do it. Groups of 3, different activities for each person in the group. The person doing the writing can only ask questions. They're not, so there's a lot of, so there's these big macro moves and then these little micro moves that come with them. Sort of like as the teacher now, if you have your entire class broke up into groups and they're going through problems together, how can you possibly serve every group? Well, part of it is you start looking at body language. The group that's having the argument, even when they're completely wrong, is not the group you go and help. The group where one person is doing the work and 2 people are sitting back or arms crossed, that's the group you go and you ask questions. So again, what do you do when you actually engage in those groups also? Defronting the classroom is another big one. We look at environmental arrangement and how big of an impact does that make. So how do you defront your classroom where every wall in your classroom is a workable surface, right? Depending on the way that the lesson is proceeding, what used to be the back might now be the front. So some of those things are things that we're looking at and what are opportunities we have just within our own confines, and then also how are our spaces maybe constricting us, and then is there alternative furniture that we need to look at, or things like that. So those are just a few of them. Again, we have a group of 4 teachers, 1 from each building, and myself. Early July, we're going down to Phoenix. We'll be there for a couple of day conference, learning about this, and then how do you implement some of this. Again, it was built around mathematics and illustrative mathematics. How do we move it into other areas as well? Because we're seeing some really positive and authentic engagement from students in the classrooms that are on the leading edge of this. The other big one we talked about was the Act 20, which is our literacy act of 2023. Last time I was here, I talked about the required training. There's required training for administration, which needs to be completed by July of 2025. And then for our teachers, that needs to be started by 2025. Some things that we talked about to consider was the budget, disruption to the school year calendar. I don't think anyone was really a big fan of that. Do we look at cycles? Do we have cohorts that do it at different times? Do we look at differentiation based on role of like a reading interventionist versus a classroom teacher? So meeting with Ms. Dusick and some of our PLC leaders and walking through this, I think we've landed on a model that I think works really well for us in Prescott. This next school year, CSA 11 is facilitating collaborative conversation around the keys to building reading. That program is up at CSA 11 for 4 different days throughout the school year. There's a virtual one to kick it off. There's some costs associated with the program itself, substitute teachers that we would need to travel up there for a vehicle to go to and from. Right now, we're looking at 1 administrator and 4 teacher leaders, of which we would only need 1 substitute teacher. So there'd be minimal impact that way. It's still going to cost approximately $4,000. And I'm kind of calling that the train the activator model, not train the trainer, because they are not going to come back and train on the keys of beginning reading. Instead, what we're going to do next year is our teachers that did not attend this year, we'll have about 18 of them left. They will still take this program. The program is online asynchronous learning. But the big part is that collaborative conversation afterwards in district within your own PLC, and what does this mean for grade 1? What does it mean for grade 4? It means 2 totally different things. So we felt like this was a good model because we can basically have 5 or 6 of our teacher leaders trained first in that collaborative part, and then how can they come back and lead those collaborations on professional development days as well as collaboration Mondays and build a schedule around that. Something that if we didn't have collaboration Mondays would be much harder to execute. And as I collaborate with some of our neighboring districts in Menominee, that's part of what their issue is too, is they're looking at a model like this, but now how can we fit it in where we already have the structure built behind it? So that's what we're looking at here in Prescott.
Michael, Act 20, it's just K through 5 right now?
Act 20 is K3 actually. One of the things we talked about though as a district, just believing that really our 4 or 5, they're still on that leading edge of literacy, and just for our 6 extra teachers, getting them trained, and then our 3 additional special education. So about 10 additional people getting trained that way.
Do you foresee it going to across the district in the years coming? Like Minnesota's all through 12?
I don't foresee this particular, because this is very, very specific to early reading. I'm not sure how applicable that would be to a high school chemistry teacher. I know Minnesota is doing it, and it's some of the questions they have to answer. But yeah.
I also just wanted to kind of amplify some comments that Michael just made, is that, you know, he talked about trying to have the pursuit of doing less but be better. We really examined over the 2 days about what are the existing groups and structures that exist and that you have as a board given us time to do. As a group, what we came out is that we already have PLCs that are identified and paid, stipends times. They meet on a monthly basis. The goal of the individuals that are going to this thinking classroom is our individuals who are at all levels within our district. They're going to come back and have an implementation plan. The goal will be to work with our PLCs and teaching and learning on a monthly basis to kind of talk and speak to how they then will do professional development each month. And so what we're trying to do is get away from each month something new is coming on their calendar. We're really trying to do something that's more thematic and systematic across all sites. And I just very appreciative of the work of the administrative team of kind of doing this work during the summer, because once August comes, that ship is sailing, and it's really hard to make adjustments. So yes, administrators work and teachers work 12 months a year.
All right, thanks, Michael. Do you guys have any comments?
Maybe just super quick, to Tanya's point, I'm guessing the 25-26, there's an estimated program cost for the 18 teachers. No, is that inclusive through 5? Does that include 4 and 5?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So.
Anybody else have any comments or questions on this one? And none of that money is being reimbursed by the state, correct?
That's correct.
All right, just want to call that out. All right, let's move on. Next one is the financial update for the school board. Dramatic
Give me a
pause.
second. Yeah, dramatic.
Jeez.
So, in your monthly reports, you received the month end for May. Obviously, our fiscal year ends on June 30th. We have been going at fast pace. This is kind of a bookend between finance, but then also as we try to pursue less is more in some of our other activities. The finance department and then construction that I'll update you on the next topic are going at a very fast pace. So we're not quite being able to walk that walk. But I do want to start with that every year we have an annual meeting. And at that annual meeting in September, we give preliminary information to our constituents with regards to all the different funding, how revenue is generated, what the levy cap means, and walk that through. It is also published in the paper on an annual basis. This is required by all schools within the state of Wisconsin. I did want to share that at the beginning of the year, the school board, after the annual meeting, then has an opportunity to adopt a budget in October. The reason that the budget is accepted in October is that is the last data piece that the state asks for every school about enrollment. The third Friday of September is what will ultimately be the driver of how much money we will receive for the next academic year, even though we are already a quarter into the year. One of the most important things is on line 9, where it talks about the total ending balance. We ended the school year at 2022-23, and again, it has now been audited. This is what was shown at the beginning of the year during the annual meeting, was that we would have about a $5.8 million fund balance. As you know, through November, December, and January, we talked at length to try to educate our community with regards to how funding has been, how it is not meeting the consumer price index and not been keeping track with inflation. And yet we want to make sure that we recruit and retain the best educators and staff. You see the educational models and the investments that we make in time, and now we would like a commensurate investment in public education by our legislators. The money is split between local taxpayers and also the state. We currently receive more money from the state than we do from local taxpayers. That is always capped at what we can truly receive. So when you hear about whether or not our equalization aid is going up or down, it just means whether or not there's going to be more on the backs of our local taxpayers or less on the backs of our local taxpayers. At the beginning of the year, we believed that you had the opportunity to look at keeping programs, keeping staff, and running everything forward. But we knew that we would have an unbalanced budget, that the amount of revenue coming in versus the expenses to keep all of the programs that we had, to keep the class sizes where they were, transportation within 2 miles, and things that we are not required to do, but we do. And unfortunately, when we asked our community to support that, it was not supported. And therefore, you have an unbalanced budget that was projected to spend $950,000 more than it was receiving. Since April 2nd, and even before, we knew that prior to that election that we would be carving about $650,000 from the current budget going into next year, even though we were asking the community to support the remainder for the types of programs, the performance, and the personnel. So it was projected that our fund balance would be at $4.9 million. Obviously, you cannot continue to spend more than you receive. Our goal has been to continue to make cuts where we could, and then obviously it's been a very busy period, and I want to thank my administrative team for staying together, sticking together, and making decisions that had to be elevated beyond just their site and advocacy of their site, but we're taking a district and community view, not only for the short term, but for the long term. What I can share with you, obviously we have information through mid-June, and we are continuing to and will have better numbers for you by July. It was estimated, and when you approved, that we would have a $900,000 deficit. The need, what I can tell you is that at this point, we have high confidence that we have been able to curtail our spending. We did receive and were able to generate more revenue than expected. We came in at $200,000 more in revenue. Some of that is the common fund for library, which is based on the census data. We did receive more admissions money for the athletics and events, and just some of the other types of grants and things like that throughout the year. $200,000 on a $16 million budget isn't huge, but it definitely is better than not having that additional revenue. On expenses, what I can share with you is that we have continued to believe that we have high confidence that beyond the $200,000 more in revenue, which would lessen the deficit, and then some of the cuts that we've made, that we will be coming back to you in July with an understanding that we did not dip into $950,000 of the fund balance. What that means is it just, if you will, bends the curve. We are still in a downward trajectory. It still puts pressure on future years. We do know that we have $325 more coming in per pupil, but we do have fewer students. We're trying to mitigate that by extending return to learn, and we have 3 additional days in August. That is not only essential financially for this district, but it also is what allows us to have a smooth beginning to the year where students are well acclimated, building relationships, and engaged. And so we will encourage everybody to take and participate in those return to learn days in August. That'll help us financially, that'll help us with transitions into the new school year, and and we move forward. What I want to share with you is that based on that information, we still have 5 payrolls to go. Teachers can divvy up their payroll to go into August, but it all gets booked into the fiscal year of June 30th. So we are obviously still have a lot of things to balance, but I was in consent. You did approve the hiring of Kara Klatt, who is going to be replacing Sue Gertis, who is our financial coordinator, who is retiring. So they'll shadow for a little bit, but they'll continue to put that information together. If we are able to, one of the things that, as we are currently building next year's budget, our principals, we have all of our school budgets built and into Skyward. We are currently working with technology and then reducing our facility and grounds because we have Fund 46. That'll give us a better projection of whether or not the revenue will be sufficient. My guess, based on the early preliminary notes, would be that we still would be an unbalanced budget. But we are building it based on allowing staff who are hourly to make their steps on the matrix, as well as for our teachers, licensed teachers, to make their steps in lanes. So as we come back in July, our goal would be to be able to share with you preliminary numbers that would already have baked in for salary increases that we think are vital, given the, the reality of CPI and the burden on our staff, and also to be able to be competitive in the market. So the next big challenge is that if we are going to go back for asking the community.
Before we go there, can I just pause and
sure.
Does anybody have any questions here for Rick on this last year's budget or the upcoming one? Anyone? Helen or Vicki here? Pat?
I mean, not on the upcoming one yet, right? We haven't seen it, but yeah. To this point, no, I'm good right now.
Okay. All right. I just want to make sure.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
And so that brings me to that if we're going to, given that we are still deficit spending, even though we've been able to bend the curve, I think the community will wonder, and administration will be bringing forward likely the need to ask our community to continue to invest beyond their current tax levy, but to support an operating levy. Our last Cardinal Connection just was received into the community. We sent it to all households. We had an article by our president, Mike Matzik, who described all of the tough decisions that you have been faced with and are currently being worked through the system. And as we build towards the next year, you will have basically July, and if you're going to go in November for an operating levy, you must declare a new resolution no later than August 27th. Given that, and only having one scheduled board meeting, it is my recommendation that you have an opportunity to meet with Sue Gertis before she ends her tenure with the Prescott Public Schools, and Kara Klatt and myself to be able to do a work session to go more in depth, both on where we believe the audit will place our fund balance for the end of the year, and then how we're projecting out what would be presented for a new budget in the fiscal year of '25. Given some of the things I'll talk about with regards to construction and the changeover of personnel and the holiday of July 4th, it would be really tough for us to come forward to you with any better information than I have presented to you tonight. It's our recommendation that sometime the week of July 8th, but prior to the 17th, which is our next board meeting, that we would have a work session dedicated to go more in depth. My understanding is that a doodle calendar was sent to all of you about 4:30 today. Courtney is watching it quite vigilantly. Do we have responses yet? Okay, so I don't know if you want to have a little bit of a discussion about kind of which days might work. I know that you have day jobs and whether or not what time of the day would be best. I know that we tend to keep and cap it at 2 hours, but I guess the first big question is there an interest in a work session prior to the next board meeting to be able to go more in depth in the financial status of the district?
Anybody want to jump on this one? I mean, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I think we need to.
If we're going to seriously consider trying to do something this year, we have to have a work session.
Can I ask a lead-in question, though? I mean, how confident are you guys going to be of a draft budget and where we might be?
I don't think we have a choice. So I think we're going to have to have and I basically will give you a confidence level at that time, but I think I want to thank the finance department and the administration team, and you'll get a report from one of our directors with food service. What we were still entering in August and September of last year is already in the system. And so I think we're much further ahead, and then it's just going to add some confidence to that information for you.
Does anybody have any comments or anything? I mean, do you agree we should get something on the calendar, right?
Yeah.
So let's just stick with the doodle calendar, fill it out, and I'll work with the board members to find out what we can do to get everybody there, and if not everybody, try to get at least 4 people to commit. And I filled it out. I left some dates unchecked, but I mean, I'll make it work if it means that other people will be there.
My son's been putting it out July 15th and 16th for added as options.
Well, that's great. All right, more options. So do I get to go back and redo it?
Do it again, and Mike and then 2.
All right. So yeah, it sounds like there's interest, Rick, and
Okay, I will definitely let Sue and Kara know. They were informed to hold these dates, and then Courtney will work with Mike to kind of finalize that and set that up. So thank you very much.
Can I just?
Yeah, I got a couple. Go ahead, Tony, you go first.
Well, mine are probably easier than yours, but one, I just wanted to remind everybody that those are open to the public. They're really good opportunities to kind of be part of. It's more listening to kind of our dialogue and our ways of thinking. We don't normally have a lot of people, if anyone, that attends those, but they are worthwhile, I think, to attend. And then I wanted to ask, just so everybody that's listening knows, how do those, once we pick a time, where will that be listed, advertised, so people know?
Sure. So we publicly post in 3 locations, Patax, the post office, and the website.
Pierce County Journal.
And Pierce County Journal.
And we do that a week ahead of time?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. So everybody can kind of see, and then we already have the dates kind of that we're projecting, but people can pay attention to that and hopefully can come and hear what we're thinking.
Thanks.
Do we need to have any discussion about, so if we're gonna have something here, in July about what we think we need as a board to even start discussing it? I can think of a couple things, and Rick, I don't know if you have any ideas of what you guys would be able to present to us, but I mean, I'd hate to meet and then
we have questions.
It just generates
questions. Do appreciate that. Yep. So are there specific reports or areas that you would like more detail or to have fleshed out?
Well, I think some of the things that we had last time when we first started looking at this, there's a couple pieces. There was a timeline put together of for dates of when votes could happen, when dollars could be encumbered, right, and just all that stuff, right? Some of the date, time range type thing. And the other piece is if Sue put together that model, looking out, I think it was 6 years, right? And we took some guesstimates at inflation and escalation of this, that, and the other. But as it relates to our fund balance and looking at those projections, I think those 2 pieces would be very important for me to understand. If we didn't go with a question in November and picked a later date, doesn't matter what it is, what does that do to that declining arch, right? You know, the red line.
Right.
So that's two things that I would love.
Okay. So that was the forecast model, just if you could take notes on that. So it's the Baird forecast model that would identify where our fund balance is and what it would be projected based on the information that Pat just identified.
And the past ones Sue put together, frankly, still may be, you know, appropriate. Maybe that gets tweaked a little bit with the new budget
Yeah, so
parameters.
100% it'll be the exact same kind of model. You'll see the same information. What will be tweaked is that at the time, we believe that the starting point for next year would be 4.9. I believe it'll be north of 5 million. I just don't have the confidence yet to tell you how much higher than 5 million, but I know that it will be north of 4.9.
Yeah,
this time.
And then just that schedule about when can you, when can't you, and hopefully we can marry that up with that model.
Sure. So that's the calendar of when the board can go for operating levies. We'll make sure we have that.
Thank you.
And Rick, the way I think of this, and I'm not sure it's as easy as what I'm about to say. I know it's not as easy, but we cut 1.85 million, or roughly right around there. That's what we cut. I don't know if there's a way to, and we're going to have to figure out all the messaging, and I get all that, but we need to examine the areas that we cut too deep and what it looks like to bring those pieces back and how much. And I think if we can have information on that, I know it's not as easy as that. Potentially, maybe for some areas it is, but I think we got to kind of look at it from we cut this deep. We want to bring some of this stuff back. What do we want to? What's important to bring back, and how much is that going to cost? I think that those are the types of things I think we're going to need to try to nail down. I don't know if we can get it that granular in a workshop, but I think that's at least how I'm kind of thinking about this.
Yeah, I am too, a little bit, because, you know, our community, we heard, and they voted no to the original amount we asked, and so I think we need to examine with our cuts what are things that we're okay with and we're going to be okay with, and I think there were some things that were probably okay to happen, not our favorites, but like we're having less kids coming in, our enrollments decline, so there's some adjustments that happen just by nature there. So I'd be interested in what needs to come back, transportation being something that's probably important to the community, as well as what needs, when we're looking at the cost, what do we need to maintain the idea of making sure we're paying our teachers competitively, our staff are having increases competitively, 12% for, you know, we can project that kind of stuff for insurance. But knowing like that's probably my priority is with the cuts that we have, how do we maintain and what do we need to maintain? Because we know that these were cuts for this year, but it doesn't get us past that curve for maintaining.
Yeah, I know we're getting a little bit weeds here, but I agree 100%. Staff retention of what we have now is a huge priority for me as well, and making sure that we can maintain competitive pay increases for the staff we have. So all this, I'm sure we can talk about in more detail in the workshop, but.
No, this is helpful, and I'm glad, Pat, that you brought it up, because obviously I don't want to show up and not have the information. So if there are additional questions that you think of, obviously as I work with Kara and Sue, we'll try to be pushing that out so that you're being able to access it, ask questions. I do believe that we can, to Mike's point, it is going to be critical that the community understands that there were reductions. That's why I would point out the Cardinal Connection to make sure that they understand and read that. It'll be posted on our website. But if we are going to go back out for an operating levy, my guess is the community will also want to know what is it buying back. And so some of it that Tanya just pointed out was maybe necessary and important for us to get right-sized with regards to the enrollment in classes, but there are certain things, programs that got reduced in athletics and the arts and in transportation that the community will want to know whether or not passing or supporting that additional funds buys back anything, or if it's specifically to retain and fund salaries for our staff. But we'll have through November to be able to educate and make those final decisions.
All right, so we'll get something set up. If we start running into date conflicts, I'll start reaching out to you guys individually and we'll figure something out.
Thank you.
All right, next up is the meal cost update.
So Nicole Lenzner is here. Now, she also had submitted a year-end report that you had. Nicole, if you want, you can kind of come up and we can kind of walk through this together. As you know, one of the challenges that we had is with regards to Fund 50 is that, which is food service, is that we currently had projected that we would lose over $100,000. We were able to make some mid-course corrections, some staffing, some better, and I'll let Nicole kind of talk about that. We do know that there will be a deficit in our Fund 50 this year. We will be running out of money a year from now, but I can tell you that revenues went up for the second year and expenses dropped for the second year. So we are in the right trajectories. We just got to get to a point where they can break even or make money. You may want to share also just the decision and working with St. Joe's, but the reason that we're here tonight specifically is we are not generating enough of the revenue to pay for all of the material and services to develop our lunch and breakfast programs. So if you want to walk through what the proposed changes are, and we would be coming back as a business item to approve these in July, right? Okay.
So as you can see, the items affected are the breakfast and lunch. And then the a la carte is very unaffected. I think there might be a couple that were just kind of wonky. It might even be one. But, it's a couple. So, like Rick said, we need to find the balance. We're not quite there. Yes, we're making more money. Expenses are coming down, but we're talking pennies to the dollar. So, something that went up $2 now is down 2 cents. So that's not quite where we're going, but we're getting there. So ideally, our goal is to find that sweet spot. I'm really hoping that that 25-cent increase is it, and then we can hold that for years to come. And then with that, we're also going to be targeting free and reduced heavily this year. So when we start school, we're going to give it in the packet with everybody. So fill it out. I don't care if you make $1 million a year. I will literally put an application in for every kid. Fill it out. I'm sure the numbers are going to change in favor of the families. So that's one of our huge combatants for this. Our meal debt was really high. It was $10,000 when we ended the year. We got it down to $5,000, which is like Hail Mary. It was pretty oof. But we sent out a lot of letters. We called and we offered some assistance. So we're definitely doing the best we can, but we really need to get to that balance point. And I really hate doing it. Like, you guys know, I want what's best for the families. I want what's best for our kids. We're getting there. Hopefully, it'll be free meals soon. I can't hold my breath on that. I have to hope for the best and plan for the worst. That's all I got.
When's the last time, gosh, that was loud. When's the last time we changed or increased our prices?
So we did increase last year a little bit. I don't think it was 25.
Was it like 10 cents?
But I will have all of that information.
Okay, great.
Yeah, and I can't compare to the other school districts because they're doing what we're doing right now. We do have a conference next week, and I'm totally going to ask them. So that's part of my covert mission there.
We do know, and this, so we did increase in the fall. We did share with you that we thought we'd have to come back mid-year.
We almost did mid-year, and then we got a grant hours before I came and talked to you, so that was amazing.
And so we decided at that time to just keep it, but we also know that one of the challenges when we had this discussion last year is that we do tend to be on the higher end in comparison to other districts, but it is something that I think is going to be essential for us to be able to ultimately get back into the black for this department.
Yeah, and Rick touched on St. Joe's, and if there wasn't a letter, I'm sure Mr. McGee's working on it, they are going to do their own program, and we'll support them. They'll call and ask questions, but I am so excited. I can't even tell you how much I wish we could do that. We can't do that, just for the record. That logistically wouldn't work for us yet. But St. Joe's is going to do it, and they're going to have a really awesome menu. Alice is going to do an amazing job.
The one other piece that we did want to share is that Andy Holland and Nicole have been working on moving our food service system. So it used to be called Wordware, and is that where parents also would make their? Yeah. So I just wanted to share that starting July 1, we will be moving our food service into the Infinite Campus world. So one, there was a cost savings. It is a lot of work to migrate, but it's the right choice. It's a system that we already have. But we did want to share a little bit about Wordware and how it charges fees.
That is a very confusing topic because they, I think, purposefully do that. So Wordware charges fees to families, but then they also charge us. So they're kind of double dipping, which is very sneaky, first of all. And second of all, that's not fair, because it's not fair to families and it's not fair to us, because we're not like Walmart. We don't move our prices way up and expect a little bit to go somewhere else. We don't ever want to be in that situation. So we really want to kind of, again, find that balance, but we don't want to increase to accommodate for that. So this is part of that move. So we're moving there, and it is going to be so amazing. I can't even tell you how many parents I talk to, and they say, "Oh, but why does Wordware do this?" And I'm like, I can't help you. I got to give you the phone number because I don't have the answer. And it's going to be so amazing to go in one spot and see everything. You'll be able to know. You'll be able to get the notifications in one area. And if you change addresses, the system will automatically know that. We won't have to have 8 people try to play phone. So that's, I think, one of the biggest things. Information will just be streamlined.
There were a lot of inefficiencies of having to kind of maintain 2 databases. We have to report to the state, and so Infinite Campus is where our student information is. That's where parents operate. It is something important, though, is that currently there is a service charge when parents used a credit card to make a deposit into the, so if the Spikuza family adds $100 into the lunch account, there was a 4-something% credit card fee with Wordware. In Infinite Campus, there is a fee that continues. It is passed on to the user, right? It is less than 4.0. We should make sure that we have that exact. I think it's 3.75, but we'll make sure we have the accurate information. The reason I bring it up, it is very customary. If you get license plates, you go to the DMV, you go to Hudson Theater, a lot of people, we pay online, we use our credit cards. There's a credit card use, and that's been in food. We've always passed that on to the end user. In Infinite Campus, however, we had not been doing that, and we had not been doing it for PCR, and we had not been doing it for community ed. That drains, and Penny and Angela had put together a proposal of making sure that when, similar to how it's been operating for food service, that the fee would be in. The reason I mention that is that Infinite Campus is all or nothing. It's either you charge fees for credit card use or you don't. And it'll be our proposal in next month is that all credit card charges will be shared by the user. There is the ability that we'll be adding an e-check option. We, in Infinite Campus, have that opportunity, and we'll be making that available to families, as well as turning on Discover. For some reason, we were accepting MasterCard and Visa and not Discover. It's the same regardless of the 3 credit card companies, and therefore that and e-check would be turned on. But I wanted to see if you had any questions or comments about that, because it is something that was part of food service and how they budgeted, and by coming in-house under Infinite Campus, there's some efficiencies, but it also will mean that we're turning on credit card fees for all transactions.
We do offer cash and credit though too, so please by all means avoid that and do it the old school way if you can.
Do you guys have any questions about that?
Yeah, so my only question is, this is actually, because I pay through check, right? So if you pay through check, then there was kind of the 2 systems. So you're saying now, just to clarify, like, if there's an Infinite Campus balance with sports, that it will connect with?
No, it'll still be 2 completely separate balances, because we don't want to take your sports balance and have your kid buy cookies with it. So,
but you could, as a parent, you could transfer that over, or would that be?
We can. So if you call me, I can absolutely do that. I just connect with the main office. That's super easy.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
But basically, like if you pay all your fees, so like at the intermediate school, parents will buy boxes of supplies, they might be signing up for field trips, but you can also then say this, when you pay the sum, you can say this is going into food, this is going into this is going into athletics.
So there'll be like a click box on
Yes.
it. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Either box or an email, because I haven't got the training yet though.
But I think for Andy, it'd be good, just as a reminder, we should probably do a screen capture of, so when people pay their current fees, what it looks like, and then where the food service will show up. Okay?
All right. Anybody else? Tanya?
Yeah, I think it's great to just, we talked about reductions and like learning and all that kind of stuff, all the different things, that nuances that go on and the things that cloud all the things that we do every day. But this is just another one of those things, multiple systems that do kind of the same thing. So the more we can streamline that for ourselves, that's great. Also for our families, it gets pretty confusing when you're going for one thing to one place, another thing to another. I know it wasn't too long ago that PCR and I think community ed all kind of came on to the same, and that, I mean, some of those things are great. So, yep. And as for the prices going up, I think we're all feeling that pinch with how much groceries cost and food costs right now, and it's unfortunate, but it's understandable as well. So, yep.
No questions.
No, I just, basically the same as what Tanya had said. This is the type of thing I think that we need to look at, the community expects us to look at. If we have redundancies, we need to not be paying extra for something that we don't need. We need to use what we have to its best ability, and if we've got something that we can shift things into, then by all means use it. And if there's anything else, I mean, this is the type of digging I think should be going on everywhere, and I'm assuming that it is. I'm hoping that it is, that you're finding things like this, because at this point, saving the 20,000 or getting that extra 20,000 that we didn't have before and saving it somewhere else, well, that's huge. Add those 2 together, that's 40. We're getting really close to the salary of a brand new teacher. So that's the sort of stuff we need to find. We are now looking for the little things. We're not looking for the elephants. We are really looking for the mice. Let's figure out how many we can put together and do something to save the district some dollars. So thanks, Nicole.
Thank you. I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicole, and thank you to Andy Holland.
Move on? Yes. All right, next one is the summer construction project update.
Yes, if you've looked across the district, we've been giving the board updates every week. Every Friday, Mark and Johnson does a nice summary for the projects and a look ahead. We also have some slides and photos of some of the work that's going on. This is an equally and probably more disruptive summer in that we have two buildings that are completely offline. And so we just kind of wanted to walk through, but also thank our community for investing in its sites. If you drive by Malone Elementary, you will see an incredible amount of fenced area. As you look at door 1, as you kind of come up at the main entrance that you can see here in this picture, you'll notice that there is a window going in to the left of door 1. That is so that we will now have sight lines into the parking lot as we have set up moving the main office to the front of the building along with the nurses station. I can tell you that the plumbing has been cut in, and the underground plumbing is in place. It'll be inspected tomorrow, and then we'll start filling back in the concrete and the flooring. And on the side of door 1, that window was scheduled to be replaced. You'll see a lot of windows being replaced throughout, and additional brick that was starting to pull away from the building. So kind of door 1, you can kind of see below where the window is going to go. A lot of beams, and you can see all the way through the classroom. One of the things that we were able to do throughout the year was to increase safety, and so our vestibules, you may have noticed, both at the middle school and at the elementary, is that they now mimic exactly like how the high school works. So the outside door is open so that families, if it's raining or cold, are able to get inside, but then that next set of doors has a camera and also buzzed in. In this case, for the elementary, the entrance will be still set up this way, but where that door is open, there'll be now a door to the left-hand side. So right when you walk into the Malone, you'll be entering into the office and be greeted by our 2 administrative assistants, and Sarah Dusick will be set up. It'll be also right next to that office will be the nurses station with more beds and also a bigger restroom, and then also a teacher workroom that will be done. What the old office, very minimal, it's being deconstructed but will be used for special education programming. 100% of the Malone Elementary ceiling tiles have now been pulled. All our cameras, security cameras are down. All of the lights are down. The power was off for the first 2 weeks in June, and we're rewiring and putting in the LED lights. We have a new electrical panel that is going in, so it'll be more modernized and being able to handle the types of things that didn't exist in 1963, the additional computers, the additional Wi-Fi, and the like. In addition, there were many windows that were out of date, so those windows are being replaced in certain areas. We also are pulling out the old unit ventilators. They're no longer used. That gives teachers more book space and counter space that they didn't have before, and also quieter learning spaces. So what will be happening over, they have completed the ceiling destruction in one core area of the building. We'll be starting to put the new ceiling back in, starting on Monday, the 24th. Andy Holland is working with another company to get all of the Cat 5 wiring put in place, both for updating the Wi-Fi, but also the security cameras. You know that we have the safety and controlled entrance, the main office we showed the pictures, and we are currently finalizing asbestos abatement in that school in the south wing, and that should be completed by the end of this month. Okay. That building is 100% unoccupied and will not be we will not be able to occupy it until August. We are organizing around a punch list the week of August 12th. Kind of moving to, I should just ask, any questions about Malone? If you want a tour, happy to walk you through. Moving to the middle school, this continues to grow with regards to the work that's being done. Want to thank my district office for putting up with a lot of snafus the last couple days. 100% of the power has been pulled. We are running off a generator. The generator is being maxed out just to run the 2 offices, but we are also have no other place to go, and we are using this high school for kindergarten through 12th grade summer school programming. And when it rains, every single inch of this building for students that are in speed and strength are usually outside are in here. And I see some people that are teaching summer school nodding their heads. So we do not have any electricity. All emergency lights are out. The reason the generator is running over at the middle school is that we are finalizing the asbestos abatement that was in the kitchen and the kitchen hoods. That is being replaced and will be completed by the 28th. We also are maintaining the fire alarms, so making sure that the fire alarm system is going. One of the things that we ran into, and completely coincidence, but the electronic fob system did go out. It went out on Sunday night. Had nothing to do with the generator or Excel pulling the power, but it does require a new part. Andy is working on that. The power should be restored on the 28th. I put a caveat there and an asterisk in that it depends that there's no major weather storm that Excel would have to prioritize. So we are at the mercy of when Excel can turn back on panels. You also know that we have a lot of the roofing. We are a week and a half behind due to the rain. Where Mother Nature was very dry last year, and this year, when we're doing a lot of external work, has not played nicely, but we are still going to be able to finish and not interfere, hopefully, for instruction. You can see at the middle school that we are also starting to remove the course of brick, and that'll be completely torn out. We'll make sure that the new flashing is set up, and then that is where the steel panels that you see currently on the mezzanines will be installed. You can see this has arrived this week. This is all prepping for the track. I want to thank the Calabrese duo for helping us identify the colors of the track, the striping, all of the baton pass areas. The surfacing will be torn up starting next week. It's a 5-day process. They then verify that the foundation that the track sits on is in good repair. If any improvements have to happen there, that'll be taken care of. Then they put the track down. It has to cure, I think, for 10 days, and then they'll do the painting. It'll be a very close for August football, making sure that it's in place and that we can go across and use it. But we're excited to have a track that will serve the community for a long period of time. I know that there were some questions about will it allow us to host larger meets. At the time, we remember we were just able to maintain what we have. So any long-term vision really would require more space and more money. This was to make sure that we could continue meeting, and I'm just so proud of how many middle school students are going out for track, but and also just how well they're performing. So there's a lot. What I would recommend is people understand is that because the power is out and it has fluctuated and all phones work on computers, we did run into some trouble with the district office phones going offline. Andy Holland will be there tomorrow. It should not be going offline because the generator runs 24/7. We also added a generator to the bus garage. That was not foreseen, a little additional cost, but they do have computers and phones. We are still busing students during summer school. It was imperative that that was put on in place, and that is operating. We do have the generators that ultimately will also be inside that building to run emergency lighting and things like that, and we have some boilers. The roof is, you can see some of the red flashing or panels, and on the outside that'll be turning over to the mezzanine colors as well. And this is what our office looks like as we enter into. None of the emergency lighting is there. We follow down the hallways to bathrooms with our lights on our phones, so to the district office and enduring some of this, thank you for your patience and your grace, and Andy for being on site trying to troubleshoot. Market & Johnson has also been very helpful in trying to minimize the disruption. But it has hampered, I do have to admit, our ability to get some of the reports just because we were not able to hit the internet and the server for a few hours earlier this week. The middle school, just a reminder, because we do have limited lighting and no emergency lighting, we also are redoing the roof. There's nails and things like that. We have had reported nail spikes, and we are working with Market & Johnson to use magnets and sweeping, but I can't guarantee that they're picking up everything. You saw the varsity track arriving, and we'll have a crane showing up on Monday the 24th, and that'll be lifting some of the things to the middle of the roof. So it is a building that really should not be entered until we start to get closer to August. This is just kind of a summary of all the things that were mentioned. Obviously, the asterisk for the asphalt below is until we get the current track off, I can't tell you what the base looks like. Intermediate at 125, we do have 2 programs down there. One of the things that I wanted to let you know is that the boilers are on site and they're nearly constructed. We do have a power outage at that building scheduled for the week of July 1st. We do have incredible logistics because we currently are running our Y-Care program and Northwest counseling and guidance. The amount of work in coordinating, I just wanted to thank Sandy and also Northwest. That week they will be going virtual. We've communicated that. Also, Nicole works with them to provide lunch, and so Market & Johnson is also going to make sure that we have a freezer that's working, and once they come back on site, they'll also help bring the food down that's pre-made, so Nicole doesn't have to come in every day to do that, so thank you, Market & Johnson. We did do inspections and had city approval for state approval for Y-Care in a different location. We're working to make sure that that's safe and acceptable, and we'll be communicating that out once everybody's back in next week. We do have new switchgear that'll be going in over at the intermediate and a CT box. The switchgear basically is set up for future-proofing that building. It will, meaning Excel cuts the power. We have to go by when they will cut the power. All of that will be rewired, and then Excel will turn it back on. We have to wait for their timeline. We have to submit, and they don't give you the turn-on date until you do the turn-off date. So we'll continue to work on that. We do have egress and the safety lighting in process, and the LED lighting that will allow us to decrease our utility costs. That, as you saw in your report, was very positive this year for utility costs, but it was mostly due, more than likely, to some energy efficiency, but also the more mild winter. Our gas costs were down. Mid-July, the unit ventilators have all been extracted out of the rooms, or at least from the walls, and those will be reinstalled in mid-July with a condensing units to be installed for the 3rd floor. So we're excited about having a better learning environment, specifically in the shoulder months, and as you know, heat rises and those 3rd floor kind of got pretty toasty over time. We will have new liquid coming in, and it will be brought in for the closed system. I forgot how many hundreds of gallons of glycol that has to be used. Initially, they thought a truck could come in and deliver it through a hose. That will not work, and so it will be toted and into the school, so they have to set up an entry without disrupting any students and then put it in, but it's installed or put into the closed system in the boiler room. So it is an inside work. Obviously, there's a lot of dollars that have been committed to this, but as you look around, I think the facilities on the external and the ability for us to move our environmental arrangements to meet the needs of students and elevate the safety will pay dividends for our staff and for our community, and just wanted to thank them again for the $15 million that they're investing in our 3 facilities. Any questions?
Any questions down here, Vicki? Helen? Tanya?
Yeah, Rick, when you went to superintendent school, did you learn about all this stuff? Like glycol and systems and, I mean, so I appreciate all your work with this.
No, and you mentioned, so Mike Koika, the custodians, Adam Roll has had to step up a little bit. Not that he doesn't step up, but Mike Koika picked a beautiful time. Mike, I hope you play this when you come back, but Mike took a vacation this week, well-deserved vacation. But boy, you learn quickly. There's a lot of things that get done confidently that sometimes you don't know are getting done. So thank you to a lot of staff and just the collaboration that we have with Markin & Johnson.
Pat, did you have anything?
No, maybe just want to echo quick. I know every day sounds like a potential disaster, but it's pretty normal with these types of projects, these summer slams. I can't, for those who aren't aware, the disruption to the staff, administrators, and the work that has to go on by people who occupy these buildings, and then specifically Rick and Mike, doing their day job is it's unbelievable. It's incredible. So thank you guys all for what you do. It's a major disruption, and you're doing 2 jobs at the same time. So I appreciate that. We do. We all do.
Sincerely. I think it's too early to ask if we're on time around budget, so I'll wait till next month, maybe. We'll see how that goes.
No, well, I can tell you, we are well on budget. We, obviously, in some of the older buildings and some of the brickwork and roof work, we are dipping into some of the contingencies based on unforeseen things, but we still have contingency dollars, and we will have an update from Markin & Johnson the week of July 8th, so it'll coincide well with our update. But I think all the projects so far are coming in on bid, and I think I don't see any major concerns at this point.
Okay. All right. Let's move on. That's the end of information and discussion here. We're going to recognition of visitors. Anybody care to be recognized? Same rules as before. All right, we're going to move on. Our work is not done. The board will consider a motion to convene in closed session under the following exemption at the Prescott High School, room A117. And it's Wisconsin statute 1985-1C, and it's for staff members 1, 2, and 3. Let's just do a motion in the second, no roll call. I guess we should probably put a time on there as well. Motion to convene in a closed session.
I move to convene in closed session at, is 8:05, or do you guys need more time?
I'm good with that.
8:05.
At 8:05 p.m.
Just rolling.
I'll second.
So a motion and a second to convene at 8:05. Roll call. Helen? Yes. Yes? Yes. Vicki?
Aye.
Tanya?
Aye.
Pat? Aye. Aye as well. All right, we'll convene at 8:05. Thank you, everyone. Have a great summer.